Mayenda has it. And he's come out with the ball, and Eliezer Mayenda has put the afterburners on. Mayenda, he might be in here.
He's in. There you go. There you go. Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat podcast, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. My name is Lee Thurgle. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and today we've got the three Bs on the podcast. We've got Chris Todbury in Brisbane. Chris, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, Lee. How are you?
Good. And another B is Paul Clark in Barcelona. Paul, how are you?
Hi, Lee. All good here, thanks. Thanks for having me back.
No problem, mate. And I'm in Bilbao, so that's why we've got the three Bs. But you could also say we're the three Bs because we're the three Baldies. And none of us are from Gateshead, because that seems to be a bit of a joke at the minute, doesn't it? That everyone who's bald comes from Gateshead, but none of us are from Gateshead. So we've nipped that in the bud, haven't we? Anyway, so listen, if you want to join us for our little podcast today, it's better than looking at BBC News, because one of the main stories on BBC News is riots in Pakistan over KFC branches. So I can guarantee this is going to be more interesting than that. Yeah, I'll let you have a think about that. Anyway, never mind. So the lads played against Bristol City yesterday. We were quite optimistic when the lineup came out. But that was fucked after about 7 minutes because of the ref. But we're going to come on to that shortly. But Paul, last week it was International Fans Day, and you went for your first taste of International Fans Day. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the weekend and your experience?
Yeah, we'll do. Well, I went with pretty high expectations because you'd been last year, hadn't you, Lee?
Yeah.
And you told me that it was brilliant. So I went there expecting it to be great, and it really was. Like, I loved it, absolutely loved it. If anyone's listening who lives abroad and is thinking about it for next year, I couldn't recommend it more. The club really did a great job organising it. Like Kath, Joanne, Gaz, Chris Waters, they're all so nice and organised such a great programme for everyone. For me, it was probably the best bit was just seeing all the different branches from different places. So there was there was a big branch from Bulgaria, Italy, Netherlands, America, and like the interaction between all the different branches was really nice. Like everyone was dead friendly, talking to each other, dead good atmosphere despite the match not being great. The tours of the facilities were excellent. Had about half an hour maybe with Speakman, which was pretty interesting. Probably during the discussion, I'll mention a few of the things he said, which were relevant. After the match, got a chance to meet some players. Chats like Patrick Roberts and Frankie. Is it Frankie? What's his surname? Franklin.
Frankie Francis, the commentator. Yeah.
Francis, that's it. Frankie Francis. And my nephew who was there had the kids went for even like VIP access to meet the players down near the dressing rooms, and he met loads of the players, and so yeah, it was just brilliant. And I had a family do the same weekend, so I didn't go to some of the stuff that was happening later at night on the Friday and the Saturday. But still, it was such a. I'll definitely go back next year, and I would really recommend it to anyone who's thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you felt like a big kid, didn't you, when you go to meet all the players and go on the pitch and all that, right?
Yeah, you walk out the tunnel, and there's a little button that as you go in at the start of the tunnel. There's a little button on the wall, and I think it was it Chris Waters, someone with us at the time said, "I'll press the button." So I was with my daughter, so I picked her up and she pressed the button, and then the Prokofiev Dance of the Nights music started for us to walk out of the tunnel. Just little touches like that were brilliant.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I've been twice now. I went last year and the year before, and it really is a great experience. And fair play to Kath and Joanne, the BLC, and Chris, who do a lot of things to make it happen. And as you mentioned, it's great to see that togetherness of our international fan base. I think that's key, and that's kind of like part of my motivation for doing this podcast as well. But anyway, cheers for that, Paul. Right then, Chris, onto the match yesterday. There was a lot of debate about whether we should go with a strong lineup or whether we should keep on rotating and not show our hand. In the end, he did go for quite a strong lineup, and I was quite pleased with that. What about you?
Yeah, no, excited. When I saw the lineup, I thought it was a good, strong team. I like that Lefay started. I know there's people been talking about wrapping him in cotton wool for a while, but I think, if he's going to be at his best for the playoffs, he's going to need minutes. So it's good that he got 60 minutes in and he did a few bits and pieces here and there. Yeah, though it was nice to see. It was nice to see. I know we touched on it earlier. Mayenda in the lineup. I don't know. He just seems to be firing on all cylinders at the minute, and obviously that goal, I'm sure we'll get to it. But yeah, as far as the lineup went, it was quite pleasing to see. Obviously, it's a bit of a shuffle at the back still with all the injuries that we got in full-back positions, but it was a good, strong start. I had high hopes when the game started until about the 7th minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, Paul, is that we did actually start quite strongly, didn't we? I mean, um, normally we've been starting quite slow, but I remember like Frankie and Danny in the commentary in that period, they were saying like, oh, you can already notice that Lefay's on the pitch because there's some of the touches and some of the movement, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a good day, this. And then all of a sudden, in the 7th minute, O'Nien lets the ball bounce, and Trai Hume gets caught on the wrong side. For me, I'm still struggling to see any kind of meaningful contact. And then what? Their player goes down like he's been shot by Leavi Oswald, doesn't he? So I don't know. That that was a sucker punch, wasn't it, in the 7th minute? Because that totally changed the dynamic of the game, didn't it, Paul? That red
Yeah,
card.
yeah, and actually, just first to pick up what Chris said about Lefay and stuff. I mean, the Swansea game, even though he came on as a sub and he was just a class above everyone on the pitch, he just looked like he's just a player from a different level. And so I was also like really excited about him starting. Also surprised actually about how strong a team we played. Speakman on Friday was saying about we're just completely focused on the playoffs now. Everything is just preparing for the playoffs. Then Lebris said that we're going to be rotating over the next couple of games, as in starting against Bristol. So then, yeah, when the starting lineup came out, it was a bit of a surprise how strong it was. Like you, I was happy about how we started. We started really positively. And then, yeah, when the red card comes out, you're like, Jesus, that's it. Like the whole game is just completely changed in a moment. I thought it was, I thought it was harsh. I personally thought it was a foul, even though I'm not. It's hard to tell whether Hume did it on purpose, if it was like a clever tried to pretend he didn't, but actually kind of knew what he's doing, or he just genuinely tried to get out of the way and couldn't get out of the way. But I still thought it was a foul. But the thing is, the reason why he clipped his legs was because Hume was running towards our goal, and their player was running away. He like changed his direction to run away from the goal. So to give a red card when he's running away from the goal, he's quite far to one side. There's players in the middle, maybe a little bit behind, but still there's some players going to be coming back in the middle. He's not going to be clear one-on-one in the middle of the goal. He's going to be coming back at an angle. So for me, it was a harsh red. It's one of them that I think if it was a yellow, they'd also be annoyed, thinking, "Oh, come on! Like we were in an amazing position there." But at the same time, so early on in the game, like a red for that also does feel harsh.
Yeah. Chris, Paul made a couple of points there I want to pick up on. One of them is the red card, but the other one is what he said about Speakman and that we're preparing for the playoffs. We're only focusing on the playoffs. Does that kind of show a bit of nervousness from the club? Because remember that they did think of this 5-year plan, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that is that now, or is that this year or next year? That it will be the 5 years. So they're kind of like really, really wanting to go for it this year because if they don't go up this year, they might feel it's a failure. So, are you happy that the club is giving these kind of like sound bites to the fans to say, listen, we're preparing for the playoffs?
Um, I mean, I think we kind of have to, right? I mean, we know we're going to be we've known we're going to be the players for a long time now. I mean, after that slip away when we had those few results where the top two kind of slipped away from us, I think most of us have kind of accepted playoffs. I also, and this might be a bit of a tangent, I think most people with any common sense probably accept that we're going to lose. If we don't go up, we're going to lose like 3 or 4 really good players. Like Job's going to go. I think Job might go regardless. There's going to be offers for Rig, Dan Neil's stolen on a contract because he obviously wants to play in the Premier League. We're going to lose. I mean, Trai Hume, there's a lot of people sniffing around him. It could be a rebuild job, and I don't want to be all doom and gloom about it. But if we don't go up, there could be a lot of really talented players leaving the club, and then we could be looking at another couple of years before we're back in this position. So I think they have to. I think they've got to try and get up. And again, like the other side of it, I had this thought today, as you said earlier, been stewing on the result all day because it's night time here. But if we do go up, it could be like Southampton. They were the best team in the league by a mile last season. At the minute, they're on 9 points. Like if we do go up, we might wind up getting battered every game. So it's just, I think we have to go for it. And, and even if we go up and then get the parachute payments and do come back down and then try and go again, I just think there's a real challenge in keeping hold of all of the talent that we've got at the minute. There are too many much bigger clubs in terms of current stature who are sniffing around our players. So I think we have to.
That was one of the things that came up with Speakman. Actually, someone asked about have we got a chance of keeping some of our top players if we don't go up, and he basically said it was clear that he thinks they'll go as well. His answer was basically, look, it's a great position to be in that we've now got a team worth around 100 million, and actually that's just football these days. That's how it works, and we're just fans aren't used to the fact that we're going to have valuable assets that have to be sold, but that's just how it is. And I kind of get that, and actually, the fact that we lost, say, Ross Stewart and Jack Clark, our 2 best players probably, apart from Ahmad was on loan. And we actually got stronger. I'm kind of not all doom and gloom about that. I think like if we don't go up and if we have to sell players, presumably if we get good money for them, then you've got to back the fact that Speakman's taken the team and made it much better over the last few years. The reasons to be a bit optimistic that even if we do lose some of our best young players, we might be able to get other ones that are also good. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sorry, Lee.
No, go on, Chris. Go on.
No, I was just going to say I've got complete faith in Speakman. You look at the state of the squad when he came in, and look at where it is now. And again, it's odd being a Sunderland fan and having other clubs sniffing around our players because in the past we've had to pay to get rid of players. So I've got complete faith that they'll rebuild and they'll spend the money in the right way. My concern is just that if we lose those 3 or 4, that's the engine room, right? We could lose Rig, Neil, and Job. That's our central midfield pretty much gone. Yeah. I mean, Alexic might be ready to come into the team next season, and I definitely think he's got something about him. And he was clearly signed with the future in mind when he was signed in the summer, so he might be ready to come in. And again, I'm sure Speakman will. They've got lots of fingers in lots of different pies, and they'll bring in probably a bunch of good players that we've never heard of. It's just that bedding in period and getting used to it. And can we? Again, with the 3 teams that we know are going to come down from the Premier League, it's going to be a really strong championship again. So it's going to be another tough season. So, yeah, don't know.
Yeah, I think the points that you made there about losing key players for decent money, but as long as it's reinvested, I think that the fans won't mind too much. I mean, I think the Ross Stewart deal wasn't too much of a blow because he was injured, and he's been injured ever since. So we're
seems like a steal now, right? Seems like we've had Southampton's plans down.
Yeah, we can kind of we can be cool with that, can't we? The Jack Clark one at first, it hurt, didn't it? Because he was our key player, he was our talisman. But looking at the way Mundell's come in, and looking at Jack Clark's performance since he signed for Ipswich, we're thinking, well, it's not a big loss after all. I mean, maybe for our style of play it was. And you look at Tommy Watson. I mean, Tommy Watson, 15 games, 10 million. And we'll get onto it later, but he was awful yesterday. So
I think Watson could be a bit like Clark in that. Well, Clark's faster than Watson. Clark, for me, he scored some good goals and he was skillful. But the reason why he beat defenders in the Championship was pace first and foremost. He used to just breeze past players. But the fullbacks in the Premier League are so much faster that against that opposition, his pace isn't going to beat them. And then he's just not the same player. And I think Watson's going to have the same thing. Watching him against Swansea, I was surprised at how he wasn't he looked like the same speed as the Swansea defenders. And this is someone who's supposedly going to potentially make a step up to the Premier League. He's not going to get faster as he gets older. He might get better in other ways, but he's not going to get faster. So for me, like I was surprised at how slow he looked, or at least not. He wasn't burning off the Swansea defenders. So I think that for me is a big red flag about whether he's going to be able to make the step up, just like Clark's been finding.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Tammy Watson, he might go for 10 million. He might flop at Brighton, and then he might end up in the Northern League for Billingham Synthonia or something like that in the future. So who knows? But
can I say just to get back to the point about the preparing for the playoffs and the team sheet, and for me, like the one surprise was after the red card where Dan Neil then goes to centre back, because I think at some point we want to rest Dan Neil presumably before the playoffs. And that seemed like a chance. Well, if he's going to be coming out of centre midfield now, and because we've lost a player and we're going to lose, you think that might be a chance to rest him, to put him at centre back for a match, or to keep him in centre midfield but like to put him centre back, I don't know. That was one thing that I wasn't really sure about. It was as if the Bristol match actually mattered. It was as if we were trying to play to do whatever we could to get a point out of that match. And Neil, by the way, I thought he played well at centre back. He did all right, but like it was I was surprised at how we managed that game. If we are just focusing on the playoffs, because why not give him more time in his preferred position of centre midfield, or I don't know, give someone else a chance at the back. Keep O'Nien and Metham at centre back so they can keep kind of building their partnership, and put someone else in at right back. Put, I don't know, Middlemass or Alexic in at right back or something. But yeah, so that would surprise me a little bit.
Well, I mean, that red card flicked the switch for Neil and Mepham, because after that they were just diving into tackles. They were getting in the referee's face. They were really pumped up. So that was actually nice to see that they would do that. But anyway, going back to the red card then, Chris, I want your opinion on it. Do you think it was very harsh, as Labrie said, as our fans said? Even the Bristol City commentator said it was a bit harsh.
Yeah, 100%. I don't see anybody who couldn't say it was harsh. I think that, and again, 7th minute, even if the ref thought it was a professional foul, in the 7th minute, surely you've got to have a bit of common sense and take a breath and go, give him a yellow and give him a talking to. To just pull the red out was, yeah, I was flabbergasted. And you could tell, because you could see he was going for his back pocket. He was still running, and I was like, oh, really? And the Bristol players were surrounding him. They were up in his grill, and they did that all game. Every time something happened, they were all over the ref, giving him a hard time. And again, it's something that we never do. And I don't know whether I see that as a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just something that we don't do. But yeah, it was really harsh.
For me, yeah, it's a bad thing, isn't it? I know it's not. I know what you mean. It's not. You don't really. It's not nice to see, but at the same time, and we're naive and we're losing out. We're losing matches because of it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But yeah, definitely harsh. It was a rough decision, and it ruined the game, really, for me.
Yeah, I mean, there were worse fouls than that, and in the. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Athletic Club Bilbao Rangers match during the week, where the Athletic Bilbao defenders actually ripped the shirt of the Rangers forward, and nothing got given. So a clear tub. But anyway, never mind. But anyway, one of the funniest comments I saw on X was basically, "Fucking hell, we've got another PE teacher as a ref," which I thought was quite funny. Anyway, listen. Before Mayenda scored the goal, Paul, he did look dangerous, didn't he, on the counter attack, and he did have the Bristol backline worried, even though there was 3 or 4 of them. He had them backpedaling, didn't he?
Yeah. He made a few good, powerful runs, and he held the ball up well as well. He had some good touches, brought other people into play, so he was already having a good game. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Chris, obviously, that goal was totally unexpected, wasn't it? Because we were just hanging on for dear life. But that was our only opportunity, and Mayenda picked it up just outside the D in our box, and he ran the whole length of the pitch, didn't he? But I mean, that's what we want to see from him, don't we? We want to see him use his explosive pace, because he does put the shits of people, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was incredible. Absolutely. I mean, I didn't see it coming. When he picked it up and the way he went through, when the 2 defenders came together and he still came out with the ball, I was like, how's he done that? But anyway, carry on you go. And then when he got into the area and he just, go on, just stick it in, just the way he passed it into the net. To have that composure, like he must have been, must have been blown pretty hard after he ran sort of at least a full half and another bit. To do that, to have the composure again at his age, and I know he's just been called up to the Spain side. Yeah, brilliant. And you're right. I mean, Paul touched on it before. The Bristol defenders were absolutely terrified of him. Every time he got the ball, you could see him going, oh, they didn't want to dive in. They didn't want to get anywhere near him. He was fantastic. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, my complaint of my end early in the season was that he was scoring a couple of goals, but he was playing like with the shackles on. But now I see him, and I think he's got that confidence, and now the shackles are off, and he's just playing without fear. He's playing his natural game. His finishing has improved. He did an interview with a Spanish YouTube channel a couple of months ago, and he said basically the most difficult thing about professional football as a striker is scoring goals because the goalkeepers are so good that they just save everything. And you kind of got that feeling, didn't you, early in the season when they had those kind of one-on-ones with Blackburn and Stoke at Christmas time, where he kind of struggled. But I mean, since then, he got a couple of goals at Sheffield Wednesday. He got another goal at home. He got a goal yesterday. I think that now he's starting to really get that confidence, and I think that's only a good thing for us, isn't it, going into the playoffs?
Yeah, the goal yesterday will just make him even more confident in front of goal. And I think like speaking to other fans, like the consensus was probably Mayenda was number one, even a couple of weeks ago. I was kind of still on the fence because I don't know. I just hoped that Isidore was gonna just like come back into form. But now there's surely no question that Mayenda, as it stands, would be on in the starting lineup in the playoffs. And that's definitely one of the positives to come from yesterday was him looking so strong, especially if we end up playing Bristol again.
Yeah. Chris, then that's my next point. Is Mayenda now the number one forward?
I think, as Paul says, I think he has to be, and I think it's. I mean, form is obviously a big part of it. Isidore's form's dropped off, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. It's not that he's not trying. It's not that he doesn't care anymore. He's just not in form. But absolutely, what you both said about Mayenda, he's just getting more and more confident. And I think Danny Collins was saying on the commentary that it felt like he was always hitting the side netting earlier on in the season. And now it just feels like he's just got it. He's just got his shooting boots on. He knows exactly where the net is. And every time he gets a chance, you think it's going to go in. So I think he's got to be the starting striker for the next handful of games and the playoffs. And Wilson's a great option off the bench, right? Like his pace will terrify tired defenders. So I don't see that as a bad position to be in, as long as he doesn't take any penalties.
Yeah, I would even consider still starting Isidore in one of these games, even if Mayenda is currently completely in the driving seat, because we might need him. And I'm actually one of the biggest concerns actually is Isidore, because he was looking like our most dangerous player, and he's just looking like a shadow of himself. And I guess for me, like the only way to have him confident for the playoffs is somehow for him to find a bit of form in his last few games.
Yeah, it'd be good to start him against Blackburn and see what it can do, and just give him that boost of confidence and kind of go, we've still got faith in you, just to see if he can go out there and make a nuisance of himself.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well.
Well, listen, his last goal was 2 months ago on the 17th of February against Leeds.
That was the last one.
That was his last goal. A lot of fans, Chris, are saying that basically, well, he's not getting the service. And well, the counter argument of that is, well, look at Mayenda. I mean, Mayenda's getting more involved in the game. It is true that I don't think they're the same type of players at all. I mean, you look at Isidore. The offside goal that he scored last week against Swansea was typical Isidore play. That's what he wants to. That's his bread and butter, isn't it? He wants to play on the shoulder, get in behind, be one-on-one. The goal he scored against Leeds. So that's his kind of style. Whereas Mayenda obviously wants to go looking for the ball, wants to pick up the ball deep and run at defenders. So I don't know. Is it a case of that Isidore isn't getting the quality, or that he needs to do more?
I think that, as you said, they're different players, and if you look at our service in general, like we don't, other than Lefay and occasionally Neil, and again occasionally Job, we don't necessarily play that many through balls. It's not something that we seem to have in our game a lot. And as much as I love Pat Roberts, his crossing this season hasn't be. I know he's got 6 or 7 assists or something like that, but even so, his crossing hasn't been great, and we've just been so inconsistent from the other side. Or it feels like the other side, like Mundell always seems to want to score. Watson, when he was firing, seemed to want to score. So I don't think we're necessarily the kind of team that plays to create an awful lot of chances. So I think that's maybe why it suits Mayenda a bit more. I think if we did have a bit more service, like if we could get, and again, it's a difficult one because we got down to 10 men at the weekend. If Lefay could play a bit further up the pitch and he could play some of those through balls, we might see those kind of finishes again from Isidore because he was scoring worldies at the start of the season, scoring absolute corkers. So I think it's just the way we're playing at the minute.
Yeah. Right, Paul. So at half time, then we went in 1-0, unbelievably. I think we were all expecting a bit of a backlash, weren't we, from Bristol City because it was clear that they weren't getting anywhere near our goal. It was basically either going to Pattinson's hands or going out for a throw or just like blocking everything. And I was listening to their commentary as well. I had the stream on two sides, and their commentary was saying we're not moving the ball fast enough, and you could see that straight after half time. We pushed back a little bit, we were deeper, and they moved the ball faster, and you could see that a goal was pretty imminent. Could we have made a couple more changes at half time to kind of like counter that? I mean, Tommy Watson was very poor. Lefay in a 10-man team wasn't going to be as effective as you would want him to be. Could we maybe like shore it up there with a little bit more experience? Maybe like bring Alan Brown on or Salis because they're kind of more defensive players.
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned Watson there, and Watson was poor again against Swansea. He was really disappointing, and again yesterday. That's another player who I kind of want to see him continue to feature, just because I feel like if we're going to go up, we want to have all our players firing as much as possible, and I still think he's shown enough promise that he could potentially be a match winner at Wembley, say. But yeah, he's been poor again. So we wouldn't have had any complaints if we'd taken him off. Job obviously came on and did okay, apart from their second goal when he was a bit of a mistake by him. Samed came on. Again, I don't know. We can talk about Samed more in a bit, but I thought wasn't really convinced again by him. Lefay was playing, like you say, he was playing deep. He was playing in a different position to where he would have really been on the pitch if we'd still had 11 men. So hard to judge. But the whole game is just different, isn't it? The pattern of play is just different when you've only got 10 men. And to give a bit of credit to Bristol, I thought Bristol City. I thought in the second half they did play well. I know it's easy to say, oh well, we had 10 men and they still didn't look great, but we know how it is when you play against 10 men. Sometimes it's quite hard to look good because the 10 men defend deep and more like resolute. But I actually thought Bristol City did actually move the ball quite well and quickly in the second half. And yeah, they probably, I don't know, we can't really have any complaints with the way the game ended up, I don't think.
No, Chris, I mean, their first goal, kind of like no complaints because when a defender picks up the ball from 25 yards out and he whacks one in the top corner, there's nothing you can do about that, can you?
No, there's nobody going to say it was a hell of a finish. Nobody was going to save it. And the only frustration for me for that was we defended really well for the first sort of few minutes of the second half, and we looked reasonably comfortable. But then the ball came out and he just walloped it. And as soon as it went in, you just thought, oh, here we go. It was one of those. I think everybody got a bit deflated by it. I think we defended well. But to touch on Paul's point, Bristol City were much better after half time. They'd obviously got a bit of a flea in their ear, made a change. I forget the lad's name, but the Japanese lad that they brought on the wing, he was getting deep and just throwing in real impressive crosses. And they were moving the ball really quickly. They were controlling it. They were deep in our half. They had us in the low block and we couldn't get out. They were just causing us a world of problems, and it was looking pretty inevitable within the first sort of 5 minutes of the second half what was going to happen.
Yeah, and then they did get that winning goal in the 76th minute. Again, a bit of pinball. We could have dealt with it better. Job had like a very I don't know, maybe he was trying to lay it off for somebody or he's trying to control it, but it just went straight to their player and wallop in the bottom corner. And I think after that there was really no coming back, was there not? I think that was the final sucker punch, and I think that's when we accepted. It was like basically from then on, damage limitation. I think, wasn't it, Paul? It's just like basically if we're going to lose, make sure we lose 2-1 and not 3 or 4-1, right?
Yeah. That was game over. At that point, in that goal, it was poor defending. I can't remember. It's hard to see whose fault it was, but there was a little one of their players kind of went past and went to kind of the byline, and he was on his own, and then there was a little ball through to him. I think it might have been Samed who should have been marking him, who then kind of dropped back, but it was too late. That player then put it across, and then Job. I think, like you say, Job tried to, I think, just like cushion it to maybe it was 09. And that was just like terrible decision and also executed badly. But it's one of those things that probably just happens now and again. He's probably knackered after with 10 men running at chasing the ball for a full half.
Yeah. Chris, Paul mentioned earlier about Tommy Watson, that saying that part of him wants him to see him play a part for the rest of the season, despite his move to Brighton incoming. He's played the last 3 matches. He started the last 3 matches, yesterday at Swansea and the one before against Norwich. And to be honest, he hasn't done much. And all that is on the back of the news coming out that he's going to be leaving. Yesterday, I thought basically he just reminded me of like the last kid to get picked in the sports team. You know what I mean? He was that kind of performance that he got the ball, he didn't do anything with it. He was trying to go in for 50-50s and he got knocked off the ball easily. It just like his whole body language didn't look right to me. He looked basically like a kid sulking in a way, which is probably contrary to what he said in his parting message, when the news was announced that he was leaving, because he said that I've been at this club for a long time. I'm going to give my all, and we still got a lot to play for. I want to get this team to the Premier League, but it doesn't feel like that in the 3 games that he's played since then, does it not?
No, he's been really poor, and it's I'm torn between, has he checked out and already thinking about his Premier League time potentially with Brighton, or, and I hope this is the case. I don't know if you guys recall back when he first came into the team earlier in the season, he looked pretty poor. Like initially he looked quite poor until about 6 or 7 games, and then suddenly it just felt like he went, "Oh, I get it now." And I don't know if he's the kind of player who just needs to play a few games to get into form, and then suddenly he'll be back to where he was when he was, he was doing some impressive stuff, and everybody was comparing him to Jack Clark, and where do we need him? We've got Mundle and this boy now. I hope it's that. I really do. But the body language is hard.
He's also come back from injury. You never know if that's had that could have had an impact as well.
Yeah, he could be playing within himself because of that.
But he has been really, really disappointing. And once if hopefully Mundle's back for the playoffs, there's absolutely no doubt that if Mundle's fit, then he'll be in ahead of him. And
the one where he got.
So you go.
No, I was just going to say the one where I think it's probably the one you're talking about, Lee, where he got just brushed off the ball. The Bristol player came in from yards away and he just wanted it more. And it was almost like he went, "All right, you have it." Like he gave in, and it was just like, that was a frustrating one. But yeah, like what you said, Lee, about his statement about, I'm going to give it my all and I want to see the club in the Premier League and it's my club and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't feel like that at the minute. So hopefully it's just the injury thing or playing into form, or like, I don't want to think poorly of the guy, but you just don't know.
Yeah, no, and a kind of similar situation you mentioned there when like he first came into the team, he wasn't on form. It took him a few games to get going. It was a similar story to the Mayenda thing, about playing with the shackles on and getting the shackles off, because he had that game, wasn't it, against Sheffield United, I think it was, where he looked really decent. But I don't know. I think with everything that's gone on now and the 3 performances that he's put in, and we know that he's going to Brighton, I just think that it's going to be very difficult for him to kind of pick up his head and turn this round. And personally, I wouldn't pick him for the rest of the season, to at least to start. If he wanted to get some game time, then maybe off the bench. But I would be focusing on the players that we have, that we know that are going to be committed to the team this season and potentially next season. Paul, would you like to see him start another game this season? Microphone, Paul, mate.
Like I said, I think maybe not start, and he'd have absolutely no complaints with getting dropped. I just think I would like to see him feature at some point, just because he's shown enough that he could produce something, get his confidence back up, and actually still have a big part to play. But and if he's going to do that, if he's going to have that opportunity, it's now, when we've still got some key players out. But I agree. I mean, he couldn't really have played any worse the last few games.
Mm-hmm. Chris, then, so Tommy Watson's out of form. Mundle's injured. We don't want to see Lefebvre on the left wing because we want to see him in the centre midfield role. So does that mean we could see Wilson Isidore get a chance on the left wing to get his confidence up and get some game time?
Yeah, look, it's not a horrible idea. All the news, all the talk when we signed him was that he comes in off the left and he prefers being on the left and yada yada yada. And then when the club actually spoke to him, he's like, no, I want to play through the middle. But look, it's not a horrible option. He might be the better option until Mundle is fully fit. It might be a good way to keep Mayenda up front and to give Isidore a chance to get his form up. It might work on that front, so it's definitely an option. It's a tough one with Watson. I completely understand what Paul's saying about you want to see him be in form, and you might need him in the playoffs, and he could just be the kind of player that would make a difference. And yes, Watson, who's on form, absolutely could make a difference in the playoffs. It's hard not to look at him at the minute and go, all right, you've checked out, you're not interested. And again, I don't want to think badly of him because he seems very much like he's a Sunderland fan, but at the minute he's definitely acting like a player who's got one eye, or maybe even an eye and a half on a different club.
Or he's not the same player coming as after his injury. But for whatever reason, I totally agree. He's shown absolutely nothing that you would think that there is that dangerous player in there. So maybe I'm being overly generous.
I get it. Having somebody like that available for the playoffs, again, if he's in form, it could make the world of difference because he can beat a player, he can put a cross in, he can score a goal. It's just, are we going to see him again, that player in a Sunderland shirt?
But on Isidore, I mean, this is the benefit of being in the position we are, right? Like we can try things, and we've got absolutely nothing to lose. Even I know Mayenda's been so good up front, so this is probably the least good option out of all of them. But still, there's always the chance of trying him again on the left and Isidore up front. And we've got a few different ways we could rotate it, and we're in the position where we can at least try it. So hopefully, we make the most of this opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes then. Chris, for me, I reckon it might sound wild, but I reckon like Salis could be a key player for the playoffs.
I think his performance yesterday was one of the best we've seen. I think it feels like he's maybe starting to live up to the hype that we all had when we got him. Everybody was so excited when we secured him, and then we never saw him for months on end. And when he did come in, it was all sideways passing or a horrible pass back to the opposition, or he just gave the ball away. He did a few things against Bristol City where you go, oh, where's that been? So yeah, he could be the difference. I don't know, if we're going up against, I don't know, if we wind up playing Coventry and we go away and they always beat us at their place. If we wanted to play two deep midfielders and we played him and Neil sitting in front of the back four, might not be a horrible option. So yeah, he's definitely, again, it's kind of following on from Paul's point about having your best players available for the playoffs. If he's got something to offer, if he comes in at the end of the season and helps us win a game or two in the playoffs, then it's absolutely been worth it.
Yeah, he's got to start on Monday, I think, because also coming on as a sub it's not the same, is it? He's got to start on Monday and give him a chance starting at home. I'm personally still not convinced by him, but he definitely deserves a chance to start and see what he can do.
I think he offers something different to Neil and Job in the fact that he gets on people's necks like really quickly. As soon as he comes on the pitch, you see him get about the pitch. whereas Neil tends to kind of like stay in a kind of specific zone. He's very casual, very calm. Whereas Salis, he gets around the pitch and he makes himself he makes his presence known to the players, and I think that that's kind of something that we're lacking because I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I always think that teams press us more and close us down more than we do to the opposition teams. I think that we kind of stand off a little bit. Chris, I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I do. I think it might have been, was it Frankie or somebody? I might have been, I can't remember. Somebody was saying something about the pressing that we did early on in the season, because that was a key part in, that winning run at the start of the season where everybody thought Reggie was some tactical genius and we were, there was triangles and we were passing the ball about and we were pressing and hunting in packs. It feels like that's gone and been gone for a while now. Like, it feels like we don't do that anymore. And I don't know if it's because he's more comfortable sitting back and then trying to hit on the break because of the pace that we've got. Whatever his reasoning is for it, we don't seem to do that like we did at the start of the season. And it is definitely a feature of opposition teams when they play against us. You can see them hassling us and harrying us and just, hunting in packs to try and win the ball. And it's not something we seem to do anymore.
Yeah.
I actually asked on Friday with the Q&A we did with Speakman. I actually asked him about our style of play and motivated by this, having seen our style of play seem to have changed during the season, and right now it doesn't really feel like we've got a really strong identity in the way we play. So I asked him about basically how he defines our style of play and how close he thinks we are to doing it properly at the moment. And he started off by classic Speakman by talking about the three values of our play, which are being creative, industrious, and bold. I felt like I was back up. It felt like I was back at work.
I felt like a Lee Johnson interview. That doesn't it?
There's like a. He actually, but right behind, he was giving this Q&A, and right behind him, he had this flip chart and he just moved to the side, and he had these three words on the flipboard already. It was quite funny. Anyway, but then after that, he then said, in terms of what that looks like on the pitch, it kind of depends on who you're playing. Because he said you might want to play in a certain way, but you also need to get results. And actually you need to kind of adapt based on what's going to get you the results. And so he didn't mention pressing. He didn't mention anything about formation. I guess he's also wary of the fact that we haven't been that pleasing on the eye recently. He also mentioned Southampton and how Chris mentioned before how they've got so few points, and he said you can't play the way they do and not get relegated. You're just guaranteed to get relegated playing like this. The only way you can stay up in the Premier League is playing with a low block and counter attacking. So they are. It's interesting though. They're actually thinking already about the Premier League as well, and they're thinking if we get promoted, what kind of style we're going to have to play. But yeah, it was. I don't know, but I was kind of hoping he might say we're going to high press, blah blah blah. That's what we're working towards, but not really. It was kind of very pragmatic, and we just got to kind of see who we're playing and what gets us the best results. I think from what I've seen, I don't know how to. I feel like when we press, we've looked better, but maybe that just coincided with us playing better more generally earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Chris, if you listen to Lebris's press conferences recently, he also does say that it's about basically you can't play the same players at the same intensity for the whole season, and that you need to have a kind of resolute and structured 11. And as Paul mentioned there, Speakman said that he didn't mention anything about the high press or anything like that. But does that kind of show that the club is a bit worried about our creative knack in a way, because we haven't created anything since October time, and it seems that every team that we play against always wants to kind of take the game to us rather than we take the game to them. So is that not a bit concerning? That I mean, are they worried that other teams have got something that we haven't, or that we're not good enough to be able to do that, and we have to depend on this counter attack? Or is it simply, as Paul mentioned, that we are preparing to play in the Premier League?
I think, and this has literally just come to me having listened to Paul pass on that story about Speakman, and you can't go into the Premier League and play full-blooded football because you'll just get battered every week. If that's part of it, if they're trying to play that way on the chance that we do go up and we're going to have to do that next season, that's part of it. I also wonder because we heard a lot about how Labris has got he's got a degree in something around sports about the tiredness. It's probably got a much more technical name than I've just described it. But about not burning out players and making them, not playing them every game at 100% so that they're all completely buggered. And at the start of the season, it was all full-blooded thunder and lightning. It was rock and roll football, to steal a phrase from some other Premier League clubs. I wonder if part of it is that because he seems very much like he's got a limited first 15 or so that he trusts. Like we haven't seen a lot of changes. We don't see a lot of substitutions. He doesn't tend to rotate a lot. And again, this has just come to me based on what Paul said. I wonder if they're thinking, I need to keep it at 70%, so I'm not buggering the players. They're not exhausted. We can play to a reasonable level most weeks. I don't have to change the team too much because he maybe doesn't think he's got the backup to be able to play full pressing, gegen press, whatever you want to call it, every week because he's going to wear out the likes of Neil and Job and Trai and all the injuries that we're getting at fullback and things like that. He can't afford to have the two boys in the fullback position bombing on all game because Serkin's knackered, Huggins been knackered for ages. And again, it's just a thought that's come to me, but I wonder if they're looking at it going, I need to keep it steady and not wear these players out.
It's going to be interesting the first leg of the playoff semi when we've had several games with nothing to play for, and suddenly we've got this massive game to see whether we do come out like a different team, come out like we've been thinking about this and preparing for it for 2 months, or whether we look the same team that we've been for the last 5 or 10 matches.
Yeah, and it's hard going from playing like a slower style to suddenly needing to be going 100 miles an hour because it's what it's like. It's the same at work. If work's quiet for a while and you get into a bit of a lull, and then suddenly it picks up again, it's really hard to get yourself back up to speed again very quickly. It's the same for footballers. If they've been playing steady away for the last 2 months, and then suddenly they're expected to play at 100 miles an hour, they'll be going, "What now? I've got to do wait. I need to go over there. Sorry." It's going to be that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds familiar to me, being a teacher in the summer holidays. I can relate to that. Right then, Paul, it looking likely, more and more likely, that it could be Bristol City or Coventry in the playoffs. I mean, there's 3 games left. Bristol City are on 67, Coventry are on 66, and the Borough are on 63. West Brom, they're 6 points behind in 8th. It looks like they're slipping away. I think they lost to Coventry yesterday, didn't they? Would you be worried about anything if we did play Bristol City again in the playoffs?
No, I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't think it'd be an easy game either. I'd make us slight favourites, but certainly it'd definitely be a tough game. I don't know if this is just irrational, but Coventry's probably the team I'd want to face the least. Bristol City would be, if I had to pick a team, it'd be Bristol City. But they showed enough in the second half yesterday that I don't think it'd be easy.
Yeah, same question for you, Chris. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree. I don't think there was anything from Bristol to be worried about. I think with 11 men, we'd be favourites, as Paul said. I also, part of me thinks that there's going to be some Trai Hume thunder bastard as a repayment for what happened to the poor kid. Yeah, I don't want Coventry either. I think they've just got this hold over us. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it goes all the way back to our friend Mr. Hill, but it just feels like every time we play him, they beat us. I don't want Coventry.
Yeah, beat us or a high scoring game or give up a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, I do not want those, but so and so's.
I mean, I'm looking at Coventry's remaining games now, and they've got Plymouth, Luton and Borough in the last game of the season, so you'd expect them to pick up a couple of wins there at least to cement their place.
That Borough game, last game of the season, could be huge.
Could be crucial, couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bristol City have got Luton, Leeds, and Preston, so they've got a tough game in between there. And Middlesbrough have got, who have they got? They've got Sheffield Wednesday and away and Norwich at home, so they've got a couple of tricky games again. And then Coventry obviously on the last day. But I would say that the playoffs might quite possibly stay the way they are now. I think Sheffield United third, because I don't think they're going to catch Burnley and Leeds 5 points ahead. I think that's a bit of a tough one. And I think that's probably better for us because I think Sheffield United are a bit all over the place at the minute, Andy. Being like Chris Wilder's lost the plot a little bit, and yesterday's win against who did they beat yesterday? I can't remember. But whoever they played yesterday, that might have calmed them down a little bit. But yeah. Right then, on to Monday, we'll finish up with Monday's match against Blackburn at home. Blackburn have got nothing to play for, it seems, because they could get to the playoffs with a very slim chance. 59 points in 10th. As you mentioned, Paul, we're not gonna go all guns blazing, I don't think, are we not, for this league match? I mean, it's all about fitness and performance. I'm happy with if we draw, but as long as we get a performance.
Yeah, I'd put Isidore up front. I'd give Mayenda a rest. I'd put Samed in defensive centre mid. Give Dan Neil a rest. Start Job. Depending on Lefay, depending on how we see his fitness, because he's still coming back, so it might be that playing him, giving him more game time is actually good for him to get him back up to full match fitness. I'd probably put Lefay and Job ahead of in there, just further up the pitch than Samed. Probably, I don't know who's going to go right back.
Alan Brown, I guess.
Yeah, Brown right back. And then you mentioned, like we spoke about before, left wing is probably the left and the wing. I don't know whether Patrick Roberts could do the rest as well, but that's where I'm kind of got more of a doubt.
Yeah, Chris, what do you reckon? Is he going to go for a similar lineup, or is he going to take it less serious, you think, because it's not a playoff rival potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see some changes as well. It'd be nice to see Samed start. Lefay, Paul makes a really good point about, we don't want to push it too hard because he's played 60 minutes just yesterday. It might be a bit too much for him. We don't want to risk injuring that boy. Be nice to give Dan Neil a rest. I'd really like to see, and I know it's not really our style, I'd really like to see us just control possession. I'd like to see us just go out and not necessarily play, because you don't need to play quickly, but if we've got the ball and we can just do all the right things and pass it between ourselves and keep it away from Blackburn, I'd like to see that. I think that would be really good for the team and for the morale and all the rest of it. And again, not even necessarily going on and win. If we can sneak a 1-0 or get a 1-1 or whatever, I'd really like to see us just control possession for a game, because it feels like it's not something that we do. And I think this is a really good game to try and do that in, because as you said, Blackburn have got nothing to play for, even though they just battered Millwall. I think it'd be a good game to be able to go, they're probably not going to come at us too hard. If we can just keep possession, I think that would be good for us.
Yeah. I think as well, he will make changes on Monday, though he did make subs, didn't he? Quite early.
Mm.
He took three off, didn't he? He took Robertson and I think was it Rigg, and everyone was surprised that Watson stayed on, played the whole match actually. So I reckon that they could be involved at some point on Monday, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're on the bench. But Paul, to finish off then, we've got 3 games left. Obviously, this one comes around quickly on Monday, but then we've got 2 Saturday matches. We've got who is it? Is it Saturday? I think it's Saturday match, isn't it? It's Oxford away and then QPR away. Do you think in those 2 games he'll go for his best lineup, because there is like a week in between, and he needs to kind of get some momentum and into the playoffs?
No. I think he'll go with whatever gives us the best chance in those playoff matches, which might be resting players, it might be trying the players out in new positions. He even said himself, didn't he, before the Bristol City game, that we're going to expect to see rotation. So I don't think I think it will be. He said that he hasn't actually done it yet, really, but I think that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to stay true to that and rotate a bit. even if it means sometimes leaving out some of our best players, say on starting with Mayenda, maybe even. As in starting with leaving out Mayenda potentially.
Yeah. Keep wrapping up with cotton wool. Chris, thoughts for the last 2 games? What do you think you'll do?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Paul again. I think he's going to be. I think he's probably going to be a bit cautious and keep the best 11 back because there's nothing to lose, right? Like we're not going to go anywhere. We're almost definitely going to finish. Are we definitely going to finish 4th now? Is that locked in?
Well, I mean, there needs to be like a huge.
Oh, we need one more point.
There needs to be an
guaranteed.
8-goal swing. I mean, we'd have to lose all our matches, and Bristol would have to win theirs, and an 8-goal swing. So.
Yeah, and the players are probably the same, right? They're probably like they don't want to get injured. They'll subconsciously they might be pulling out of tackles or not necessarily busting a gut to get on the end of a ball or whatever. So I'd suggest he's probably going to be a bit cautious. I think he's probably quite pragmatic with those kind of things. He's not the kind of manager to just go for it.
Funny thing is that if that does happen and we lose all our 3 matches, Bristol City win all their 3 matches, we'll still play them in the semi-final. just that'll be the other way around.
Just the way around.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday all over again, wouldn't it? Home leg first and away leg second. Right, lads, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for your time today. Paul, enjoy your day in Barcelona. I imagine you'll be going to the park with the little one later.
I'm actually in Madrid for the weekend.
Oh, you're in Madrid, are you?
Yeah, just come over for Easter. Just a little long weekend in Madrid. Yeah, nice. But we'll be going to a park with the little one. Yeah, just a different park.
Right, you'll have to let us know, mate. See if you can find any bars that serve this Madri because it doesn't exist in Spain. There's not these pints of Madri that they sell in England. I mean, it's really random, isn't it? That they're selling a Spanish beer, claiming it's from Madrid, but no one actually knows what it is in Madrid or Spain.
Like Alma de Madrid, isn't it? The soul of Madrid, whatever the slogan is, and it's like brewed by a British company. And
I think it's brewed in Hull or Burton or Grimsby or something like that. So
yeah.
But
a bit less exotic.
Yeah. But anyway, enjoy your weekend, mate. And Chris, enjoy your evening in Brisbane. Have you got any plans now, or?
No, mate. I'm going to go chill out. I might go and watch some of the Formula One, and then I'll probably be boring and go to bed early.
Good man. Right, lads. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you again soon. How are the lads?
Cheers,
boys. Lads.
Thank you.